Good afternoon and welcome to today's edition of Democracy and the Rule of Law, the very first in the year 2020. Happy New Year to our esteemed viewers all around the world, and welcome to today's edition of Democracy and Rule of Law with me, Judith Thurenwa. It's always nice to have you join us on every edition of the show. I thank you for being with us throughout the year 2019 and now for starting the year 2020 with us. I would promise to always bring you the very best on the program. I thank you once again and Happy New Year as I welcome our guests. It's nice to have you all, Barrister Ayosho, Barrister Samuel Ame, and Barrister Steve Adaramui. Happy New Year to you and welcome.
Thank you
very much for having us.
Happy New Year to our extreme moderns.
All right. That's it from our guests to you, our viewers. On today's edition of Democracy and Rule of Law, as usual, we know the culture during any special celebration, which the New Year happens to be one. The President of the country is expected to speak with the people. And so President Muhammadu Buhari, at the beginning of this New Year, sent a letter to Nigerians where he did promise a whole lot, assuring Nigerians of a prosperous 2020 and assuring the country that his administration will do more. However, on Thursday, the Kwara State government did demolish the ancestral home of the Sarakis, that is the home of late Senator Olushola Saraki, called Iliarubo, meaning home of the old. It is a house he's used over the years before his death to welcome his political supporters and also hand over the dividends of democracy one way or the other to them. And now, over some issues, the Kwara State government has demolished this house. These are the two topics we'll be discussing on today's edition of Democracy and the Rule of Law. But as is, we'll start with that of the president's speech. Letter, so to say, to Nigerians. I know you did read that letter. It has gone viral with the opposition party, the PDP, saying the letter is nothing, doesn't really give hope to Nigerians. Well, the New Year message of the president to Nigeria includes promises to improve power supply, deliver on critical infrastructure across all zones, double down on local production of food, winning the war on terror, and outlining a couple of projects that will be completed. All that will commence in 2020. Before we go into, I have 5 key points in that letter which I want us to talk about. But his letter to Nigerians, what's your view?
The letter, it's a beautiful piece of message. It is. I'm impressed by it because he did mention things like 4 airports in Nigeria will be rehabilitated, and I like the geographical spread. Mentioned Enugu, Maiduguri, Kano, and Lagos. I like that. He also mentioned, there's this the NLG, the agreement they have signed with some foreign companies to increase gas production, and it's going to be increased by 35%. That agreement was signed last year. It is good. In passing, the president also mentioned foreign investors and mentioned the rule of law. So when I read that, I laughed to myself that this is a man that has not had any respect for rule of law, especially in conjunction with the Attorney General of the Federation, Malam Malami. They've actually not shown enough respect for the rule of law. So that paper is a promise. It's a mere promise, just like a budget. You understand? It's a statement. Until the thing is, actually implemented, that one can say, objectively, that the president has kept his promises. They're on the surface. I like it.
All right. Yes. On the surface, you like it, but we'll hold it there. Barrister Ahmed, what's your take on the letter? As a Nigerian.
Well, the letter by the president to the general public being a New Year message. Well, the content, they look palatable, they look, but the way and manner in which those contents will be implemented was not stated by the president. It was just a mere write-up to me that should be taken with a pinch of salt, because some key elements of that message appears to be contradictory in nature. First, we all know that there is a move by the president to embark on third-term agenda. Well, he has not come out openly to deny that allegation. But then, having stated in his letter, in the message, that he's stepping down in 2023, I take it as an admission of guilt. You know, nobody has accused you yet, officially. And then you now brought it under an official message to the people on a New Year Day. That message has nothing to me, it has nothing to do with a New Year message of hope for the people. It is not a political message. It is a message that ought to have given us the direction in which the year is going to be run, giving hope to the massive youths that are unemployed, provision of infrastructures and all that. Well, he listed that in his program, but I think he should have at least given a modality for implementation of these messages that he has addressed us on.
All right, thank you, Barrister Ahmed. Before we go into the issue of the third term agenda and not going in for a third term, Barrister Ahmed, it's a good letter on black and white, but he did not list the modalities of how he's going to achieve these promises. Barrister Darmo, do you think this is really necessary for the president to go into the nitty-gritty of how he's going to achieve these promises, or just informing us about him doing this is enough?
First and foremost, I vehemently disagree with the modality with which the message was delivered to the citizenry.
All right.
I would have expected, because January 1st is very, 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 very important in the life of every nation. It is a time to give hope to the hopeless. It is a time to give direction, life to the citizenry. I would have expected him not to come in terms of letter alone, to face Nigerians and address them. I don't think there is any capacitation whatsoever. Why he did that? He's not sick, he's not outside the country. Even if he's outside the country, that day, everybody is looking to see their president addressing them face to face. No more, no less. Even at all, without even talking about modality, it will have given flesh to the, as far as the something is concerned, it's more or less a very dry bone.
So in essence, you're saying yes, the medium, does it take away from the message?
It does, it does.
Okay.
Because when you are going at your president, it gives you certain kind of hope. You understand? Certain kind of joy. You know, it animates you. You know, one kind way or the other. And I think, I mean, it's a rare way of delivery of New Year message. You know, with that, it takes away the hope, the life of the message itself. You understand? Most especially at a critical junction where we are today, where life is insecure, where there is hunger everywhere, where there is no hope. It is, I mean, you can't sit at the comfort of his room and send letter to the, I think he belittled the country. This is something. That's my own view about it.
All right, Barrister, let me quickly take you on the medium. I feel when you write a letter, you pour in your emotions into that letter. Not every, and we know our president, he's not one who always addresses the nation. He's a man of few words. So to you, does the medium take away from the intent of the letter?
Okay, well, in the history of Nigeria, I think I agree with Barrister Amori.
Okay.
This is the first time a president will write to the citizen. So it's a new phenomenon. And actually, I did not really know about that letter until some people called my attention to the letter. But if it was to be a broadcast, you understand, it should have been on the radio and television. You understand? It would have been widely circulated. You understand? So the letter, I am very sure, did not get to most Nigerians because it came in form of a letter. You need to read it online or you read it in the newspapers. But if it had been a broadcast on television or on the radio, many people will have had access, you know, to it. Because what is the essence of, you know, sending a message that did not, you know, get home? And we also know that there is something, there's a non-verbal communication. You know, when you watch somebody speaking, it's beyond the letter. You understand? The spirit, yes, the non-verbal part of that letter. You watch the demeanor of the president. Perhaps he will smile. You understand? You give some gesture that will show that, oh, really, he meant business. But why I'm not really bothered about that letter is because he mentioned the railways, for example. In Lagos, I can see them building the railways. I can see them building the railways in Lagos. So, and that gas thing, that we are going to increase gas production by 35%. I've also read about it last year, when all those foreign companies with the NLG were signing those agreements. You understand? You see, but that letter appears to be fair to all geopolitical zones. The way, but in reality, the president has not been fair to all the geopolitical zones. And I guess that's where some people have problems with the president. Okay. Because if you look into the past, his previous appointments, you know, it has all been lopsided, always in favor of the North. You understand? Before his very presence, you recall the police recruitment. You understand? You also recall the appointment of commissioners of police. How it was virtually a northern thing. You could hardly pinpoint one Easterner who was made a substantive commissioner of police with a command. You understand? And look at the Police Service Commission had to go to court for the first time in the history of Nigeria on the appointment, on the recruitment of constables. You understand? Because you see that majority of the constables recruited were mainly northerners. And former IG, Mr. Muslim Smith, had to go to court as the head of the Police Service Commission. Right. So it is beyond the letter thing. Let us see fairness and justice on ground. Let us see adherence to the federal character principle in the Constitution. All
right. Let's look at the content of the letter. I did say we'll look at 5 bullet points in that letter. Well, you did start the issue of the third-term agenda. This is a rumor that has been making the round, and the president deemed it fit once more to address that particular rumor. He said he promised actually not to seek a third term in office in 2023. I'll be standing down, the president said in the letter, in 2023 and will not be available to any future elections. I am determined to help strengthen the electoral process both in Nigeria and across the region, where several ECOWAS members go to the polls this year. You would say people were not talking about this, but him addressing this particular issue is a sort of admitting like he's been guilt-tripped in one way or the other. But you agree with me that this rumor has been making the rounds. So why do you oppose him addressing this particular rumor in his letter?
Well, in law, rumors are not facts. And if you bring facts obtained by rumor into an official statement, then it should be taken with a pinch of salt. Remember during Obasanjo's tenure, when they were pushing for third term, that Obasanjo should come out for third term agenda. Obasanjo himself did deny that there was nothing like third term. All efforts to make him admit failed But at the end of the day, bags of money were distributed in order to actualize the third term. So, even if the president is telling us that he will not be available for any future election, which is indirectly telling us that there is no third term agenda.
Yeah.
Now, from history and from the experience of this administration, a rational Nigerian can only take that statement with a pinch of salt. That's addressing it on a New Year message to the nationality of Nigerians does not convince us that the rumor may not come into light. Addressing it on a New Year day does not totally convince us that the third term agenda is non-existent.
All right, Chairman of the All Progressives Congress, that is Adams Oshomole, has actually accused the PDP of planting the third term agenda because it was a PDP president who actually started this move, so to say.
Well, whether it is the PDP or the APC that are canvassing for the third term agenda, the crux of this matter is that whoever is canvassing for third term agenda for the president is doing it for their own selfish reasons. All
right, well, the president has come out to say he's not yes. part of it. Okay, let me quickly just go. I'll return to you, Barrister Daramoye. This is the president saying, even if you're having such intentions, he has come out to say, I would not be submitting myself for future elections.
Obasanjo did the same.
Okay.
I think Nigeria is a very volatile environment. Sustained. It's a kind of democracy sustained by falsehood. On the strength of that, most politicians in Nigerians, you cannot believe them. They don't live by their words. They live by lies. On the strength of that, when a rumor is flying about, people tend to believe it. Like my colleague has just mentioned, during the Obasanjo regime, we had a similar situation in which, in fact, it's very common, even during military regime. You see, they will give one. I appreciate the fact that this is a different setting entirely.
All right.
That's different, but they are the same people, only the dress, the garment, the cassock that has changed. So, on the strength of that, it is done in Abacha. Abacha never said he was going to contest. He just put everybody forward. He said he was going to hand over. Till the last minute, every preparation, every steps were being prepared towards it. During Obasanjo, as he has rightly said, people got note of it. That Obasanjo was not going to leave power. That he was going to seek third time. People didn't believe it. But until it got to a certain stage, when people started seeing certain signs that he was preparing for third time, up to today, he has never accepted that he was going to contest for the third time. He has never accepted. But enough, enormous, convincing proof were abound to the fact money was being distributed. I remember somebody, one of the senators, said I was in my hotel. I saw certain bags of money that was brought to me and asked for what the money was meant for. And they told him that even the money, I think it was displayed at the National Assembly.
It was displayed on the table like this.
On the table. So, when you are dealing with Nigerians, it is very difficult to believe whatever they say. In Nigeria, politicians they will say one thing, unlike other clients.
Oh, we can only hold them to their word.
Yes,
we can only hold the president to his word.
And do another thing. You see, we are running a very constitutional democracy. Everything should be done according to the constitution. Anything that negates it must be declared null and void to the extent of inconsistency with the provision of the constitution. So personally, I'm of the view it's a very volatile issue, very, 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 very important, because there are certain things, the dictatorial tendencies of the governors is a pointer to the fact why some people are saying so. Some people were making an allusion to Decree 4 when Buhari was first came to power, and there are certain indices about to silence the masses, you know, one way or the other. So on the strength of that, people are just seeing it as a precursor, a prelude to the tyranny and dictatorship that is to come. But when you talk about 2023, it's a departure, very radical one. And also, when Lawan himself has said, nothing that Mr. President brings to the house, that will not be ratified. So if tomorrow a bill to change that portion of the constitution, another allied laws, very particularly electoral laws, they are going to approve it according to him. You understand? So when you see all those signs on the ground, we have to be a little bit careful, because we have to be vigilant. Internal vigilance is the price of liberty. For us to have a wisdom and liberty, we still not have to take those words hook, line, and sinker, but rather be vigilant and make sure that the president acts his word to the letter.
All right. Well, we'll hold this president to his words in the meantime. Now, the president says his administration will respect the rule of law. You recall that this administration has been lampooned for trampling on court orders and the rule of law. Well, in his address, the president did say, we will work tirelessly at home and with our allies in support of our policies to protect the security of life and property. Our actions at all times will be governed by the rule of law. At the same time, we shall always look to engage with all well-meaning leaders and citizens of goodwill to promote dialogue, partnership, and understanding. Is the administration finally listening to Nigerians on this particular issue, which has remained critical, you know, to our democracy, the issue of the rule of law? Well,
if I'm to score the present regime on the issue of rule of law on the scale of 100%, I'm going to give the administration 20%. You see, the rule of law is central to the democratic process. And that's why we have a constitution that clearly delineates the three arms of government. You know, the executive, legislature, and the judiciary. You understand? So, but under this regime, I'll keep calling it regime, in line with the Punch editorial stance. You understand? So far, this administration, in conjunction with the Attorney General of the Federation, they have totally trampled on the rule of law. And a person like the Attorney General of the Federation actually came out to state that national security is superior to the rule of law. You understand? So we have the case of this man that just been released, Dasuki, Colonel Dasuki. He was granted bail 4 times, including bail granted by the ECOWAS court. You see, ECOWAS court, to my understanding, is an international court. You understand? Because we have the African Charter on Humans and People's Rights, you know, which Nigeria as a country is a signatory to. If you also recall, during the days of Babangida, when they had this riot in Kaduna State, you know, and they set up the Civil Disobedience Tribunal and all that, and at the end of the day, General Zemani Lukwat was supposed to be killed. IOB and called the CLO. Where did they go to? They went to the ECOWAS court, or its equivalent at that time. It was that court that said General Lukwat should not be killed, and Babangida obeyed that court. But we have seen under the present regime of Buhari's administration regime that the ECOWAS court has not been obeyed by this administration.
Well, the president is promising not to, going forward, he's promising to respect the rule of law.
No, we have to lay a foundation.
All
first.
right.
We have to lay a foundation.
Yeah.
If somebody is telling me that he has repented, you understand? You know, he has to confess using the biblical allusion. Before you repent in the Bible, you have to confess of your sins.
Admit to guilt.
You have to admit of your guilt.
Okay.
This government has not confessed to our sins, because look at what Attorney General of the Federation said. He said Showore and Dasuki were released on compassionate grounds. Believe me, that is a slap on the judiciary and on Nigerians. Attorney General of the Federation was supposed to apologize to Nigeria and the judiciary for disobeying court orders. You understand? So that statement should be withdrawn forthwith. And I'm still seeing a situation whereby the previous committee of the NBA, we called that man to order, because we recall that Andoka is Silk was removed for a while after he left the government of Jonathan. You understand? So I still feel that Malam Malami should also be dealt with by the NBA. He has abused his privileges as a Silk. You understand? Because this man, and look at it, ordinary 6 American senators wrote a letter to Nigeria. You understand? It was on the strength of that letter that Showore and Dasuki were released.
Well, Malami did refute that claim. He said they were not released based on any pressure, both within and outside the country.
You see, he's talking, maybe he's talking to his children at home. He's not talking to enlightened people like us. Because I recall an American senator that he spoke and said that we are interested in the case of Showore. He said we are going to follow that case. And look at that case. A case whereby they did not only disobey court orders, the DSS actually invaded the court of law.
All right,
and there was a lot of lies, you know, that these people told to cover that thing, until people started to doubt whether it was true or not. A lot of propaganda to hide something evil. So before we can move forward, if Buhari has promised in that letter that he's going to respect rule of law, first of all, we need an apology to the judiciary and to the people of Nigeria on how the rule of law has been trampled by this administration. And the case of Zaki is still there. There are court orders that has ordered the Zaki should be released. Let them release him.
All right.
You understand? Heavens will not fall.
Oh, well, this issue of the rule of law
Heavens will not fall.
on and on and on and
Yeah,
on.
yes. It's the foundation. It's a foundational issue.
However, on the issue of El Zaki, the AGF has said his fate is in the hands of the Kaduna State government.
And he's being prosecuted in the Federal High Court. So please, the Attorney General of the Federation, let's enlighten the public. The Attorney General of the Federation can take over any criminal matter in any part of this country. So Malami should not continue, you understand, to insult us and disrespect our intellect.
All right. You're still watching Democracy and Rule of Law. We have to take a very quick break. We'll be right back. Just stay with us. All right, welcome back. And if you just joined us, this is Democracy and Rule of Law, and we're discussing President Buhari's letter to Nigerians on the new year 2020. Okay, we're still talking the issue of the rule of law. I see this is something that is very, very key, especially when with legal practitioners on the table. Now, we've had all these allegations of disregard to the rule of law, impunity, and total disrespect. You know, we saw what happened when the officials of the DSS did desecrate the court room. Okay, The president has now come out to say, henceforth moving on, the rule of law will be respected as much as possible. Is this not a welcome development to you, Barrister Samuel Ame?
Well, it is a welcome development to the extent of that letter. But matching words with action is what matters to Nigerians. All promises can be written on papers, but we want to see evidence. We want to see a new government in 2020 where the rule of law will be respected. And the message is, the content of that message by the president is going to be assessed by the general public as the year progresses on.
Okay.
By the end of 2020, we'll still come back and to the drawing board and evaluate whether the president has complied with the message or not. And then in 2021, we'll now know the kind of leadership that we have found ourselves, whether it is a leadership that matches its words with action or not. So let us wait until the end of the year, then we'll make our assessment and reviews.
Very well. Okay.
I want to say that when you are talking about democracy, ours is a constitutional democracy, well-founded on the rule of law. Any deviation or derogation from it is a serious violation of the Constitution, all things being equal. We have seen the Mr. President mentioning that he's going to respect the rule of law in his message. It's salutary, it's welcome, it's wonderful. But I would have loved such a statement to be matched with immediate action following what I just said now. I'm releasing El Saki. You understand? I'm releasing just to convince Nigerians. When you are even saying that 2023, that we are not going to contest, it's when you look at that statement very well, it's a violation of the Constitution impliedly. You understand? Because the Constitution states that you can only be there for 4 years unless there is an amendment. So I believe the rule of law is the linchpin, is the cornerstone of what do you call it, of democracy. In a situation in which there are various flagrant disobedience to the rule of law, I think it's a disrespect to Nigerians within, to Nigerians within and without.
All right.
So I'm of the view personally that the moment you trample on the rule of law, very particularly the third estate of the realm, that is the judiciary, is just like removing the eye of a person and putting him in darkness. And under such a situation, it is very difficult for such a society to function. So I'm of the view personally that government should try as much as possible to respect the rule of law. That is what, even in militocracy, rule of law, one way or the other, are respected to a certain level. And what separates military dictatorship from civilian regime is the fact that there is a laid down constitution.
Right.
That things must be done according to the constitution. And on that note, when the third estate of the realm, they make order, and the other are flagrantly disobeyed at every level, I think it's a very sad commentary in the annals of our nation.
All right, thank you, Barrister Steve Adaramwe. We have to drop this particular topic. It is something that we'll always fall back to.
Yes.
And like Barrister Ahmed has said, time will tell if he indeed walks the talk.